Hi, and welcome to the Mortgage Broker Broadcast. My guest this week is Matt McCullough, and we're back for part two of Matt. Matt was a guest on the podcast, episode 46. So a few weeks ago, Matt was on the podcast, talked for an hour, got into a lot of detail, got to know Matt a lot more. And one of the things he talked about at the end was the pillars, the three pillars. So I really wanted to get him back onto the podcast to explore that a little bit more. We didn't talk about that at the time. Explore that a little bit more, talk about that, and then really follow that on with more about lead generation in social media. So, yep, here goes part two of the podcast. So, welcome back to the podcast, Matt. How are you?
All right. Yeah, good. Glad to be back. Yourself? Good?
Yeah, good. Yeah, very good. Thanks very much. Yeah, good to get you back onto the podcast. One of those we talked about and we went on for an hour, episode 46, I think it was, Matt. We had a chat and then discussions, and at the end, it sort of seemed to be crying out for more. The feedback from the listeners and subscribers was they were interested to get you back on and explore a few things a little bit more about. Touched on the three pillars. We're going to have a look at that. We're going to talk about that, but then also as well just about lead generation, and we'll see where it goes. Brilliant. Fine, Matt. So just going back, like I said, to episode 46, the end of it, you start to talk about the three pillars, and you didn't really do any more explaining than that. You obviously gave them the names, but that was right. So do you want to sort of take us back there and where you were at that time, and sort of elaborate a little bit more about that?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. For me, right, these three pillars are pretty much the way I run my, whether it be coaching with my staff, whether it be developing businesses with our third-party customers and our brokers alike, whether it be just creating a new piece of content or marketing for anything really. I always follow down to these three pillars, and these for me, these three things that if you could literally build anything around these, as long as you follow, in my mind, this mindset. And just to give you a bit of a backstory, right? For every single product that we buy, even if it's free, anything that we get in this world, right, it is solving an issue. Oh, I'm going to eat an apple because I'm hungry. Issue, I'm hungry. Offer, get the apple. So I'm giving away there what the pillars are. But the three pillars are issue, offer, differentiator. So let me give an example of some of the issues, and we'll go into some of the meat and drink around what's important around it. So, as I've mentioned, everything that a consumer, everything that is available anywhere is to combat an issue for me. Whether it be, it could be just something dead simple, a packet of envelopes. You're not buying them unless you want to post something, right? So, the issue is I need envelopes to post letters, cards, I'm going to buy them. So what's the offer? A packet of envelopes. Great. But are you going to sell more envelopes? Making it a bit different. And it's a boring example, but you can't, a differentiator there is just doing like a 2-for-1 on envelopes or whatever it is, or getting free stamps. But the point is, there's an offer for near enough every issue. Where brands and people alike can take it to that next level is essentially presenting your differentiator to that solution. Mm-hmm. So if I was to bring it to life in terms of, right, if I'm a brand owner, and in this example, I'm a brand owner and I am, let's say, a mortgage broker. Well, the issue is clear and obvious, right? Is that people want a mortgage. And you can define that 1,000 different ways. Want as in a first-time buyer, as in an existing borrower who wants to raise money to build an extension, is a buy-to-let landlord that wants a capital raise to grow further. There's the issue, right? There's a plethora of different ones you could think about. And then you think about the offer. Now, the offer doesn't have to be a lender. In fact, it's not the lender. The offer here is not what anyone else offers other than you as the brand. So the first pillar is I've identified an issue. The second pillar is how do I, as a provider of that service solution to that issue, promote that offer? So that offer being, okay, I'm a first-time buyer. I need a mortgage. Great. Well, I am Mr. Broker that specializes in first-time buyers. Great. There's 1,000 other one of them. There's loads of brokers do the same thing, right? So how, third pillar, how are you different? What's your differentiator to these people? What is it that you offer that could really attract the attention of these would-be buyers and borrowers? to make them buy into your brand, and in return, essentially become a lead generation tool. But I'll talk about that later. But they're the 3 pillars. So now the interesting part of that for me is if you talk that through, that can work with every single element of every single business in the world. So, it can work on marketing, so you can find out what the issue is, present what you offer, market why you're different. It could be staff development. Okay, what's the development needs? What do you offer? How can you be different to retain that individual services rather than lose them in the future to attrition for different employment types, if they move on, or you're trying to develop your people. It can be customer experience journeys. What issue have you found? What can you offer? How can you be different to your brand and your competitors? It can be taken across everything. And it's not something that I'm not claiming to be an expert here and come up with this myself. I've kind of like re-engineered something that I read about many years back in a book called Sales Simplified by Mike Weinberg. If you've not read it, it's brilliant. And it literally does what it says on the tin, simplifies the sales experience. This is an American chap that flew all over the US, selling all sorts of different things, printers, software, whatever it may be. But he always found out what the issue was and what was different. And I thought, well, actually, mix a little bit in there. What's your offer? How are you going to continually be different? So I just thought maybe just design this model around that and come up with something that actually could work on most occasions. And that is the 3 pillars, really.
The 3 pillars. And I think it makes total sense. I think, like you say, it's simplified it in the book and you've adapted that and elaborated that a little bit more. But I think, like you say, you can, from a mortgage broker point of view, looking at, I'm a mortgage broker, so you're right, a first-time buyer, I specialize in first-time buyer mortgages. I specialize in buy-to-let. I specialize in this. You're going to struggle to find a niche, aren't you? You're going to, like in the world that we're in today with mortgage brokers I'm a protection specialist. I'm a business protection specialist. You are going to come up against competition that are niche in your world. Yeah. It's then what your differential is within that niche as well. So you've got to drill that. So it's all right going, specialize in first time buyers. So the issue is this, I offer this. You've got to drill down and really sort of think a lot more about what your offering is and what your differential is, rather than just going, I'm a first-time buyer specialist. What does that actually mean? What does a first-time buyer specialist actually mean? And how do you differ to the rest of the first-time buyer specialists that are out there in the market? Because you're a national sales manager for one of the main lenders. You get to meet mortgage brokers every single day, Matt. And you will hear the stories and listen to people and listen to because that's what you do. And it's no different, is it? It's like you've got to look at what is really your true differential.
Yeah, absolutely is. And do you know what's really good to hear this example come to light is like the local business networking events that you can go to. They call them BNIs. BNIs, you get that local event. And if you've got a couple of people that work in the same industry, might not be profession, but industry, you can hear how maybe their differentiator comes across in that room, because you and I know if I go there as a mortgage broker, I know that everyone in that room will know a mortgage broker. They just will. So how do I then discuss what my differentiator is for their potential referrals, their own family and friends themselves? And it always hark back down to, right, I think of this example, and you've got to be a differentiator to every pot of customers you want to serve. So you mentioned there about a niche. People usually say, right, when you're trying to build a brand, you're trying to maybe scale a business, niche down in a particular area, grow that, move across, right? If you've not heard that, that's something that happens in marketing quite a lot, especially in like the affiliate marketing space. But people tend to niche down, capture that, move across. Then you kind of capture more niches in one particular area. So in mortgages, you're absolutely right. You can focus on first-time buyers, right? I'm getting that capture point. But if if you market yourself as a first-time buyer expert and a big portfolio buy-to-let landlord expert, they don't complement. So you have to create that brand yourself, right? Via different ways of marketing. You might have different maybe capture tools for your inquiries as a broker. And I won't get too technical yet, but basically you have to create that brand. And how do you do it? Simple. Find out what the customers' issues are. find out what they are, provide answers to that issue, but then really step out and go, right, how am I different to all these people here? And then market that. Now, some great tools that help that come to life, because people are probably listening here now thinking, right, that's great. I know what the issues are in the mortgage market. I know how to kind of offer that because that's what I do. But I just need help to finding out how I'm different, right? And actually, you've just got to understand what consumers want. That's the differentiator. It's dead simple. What do different types of consumers actually want? And for me, from my old background, working in telephony many years back, I worked unsociable hours, 12 till 9 and stuff like that. And I found a lot of my customers, telephony based, were in the evening, 7 till 9. So guess what I did? Focus my time on my outbound campaign in the evening, because I knew my customers that wanted my service were not available any other time of the day. I can give you the best offer you would ever seen, but you can't get hold of me and I can't get hold of you. So what's the point of me focusing my efforts on that first 5 hours of the day or 7 hours of the day? So I understood that niche. I looked at my consumers' issues. I found out what I was offering, and I just picked myself as a bit different. Why am I different? I'm offering the same as all these people over there, but I'm available for you 7 till 9 every evening, where others are not. That's my differentiator. It was boring, but it was simple. So I think the big thing there is, well, how do you market that? Because there's so many different people that will tell you so many different things. I mean, you would have seen people like, I don't know, promoting get more capture on Facebook ads, using YouTube, bespoke desert leaflet dropping. Still a big thing, to be fair. It can be very cost effective as a startup. But for me, if you take that 3-pillar service and pump that into a free social media platform yourself, I hate the word guarantee, because you know what? There's always red tape. You'll find success if you market your differentiator right. Definitely.
I think the thing is as well is that it's about you talked on the first podcast about long term and about client retention, the other things about a long term business. It's the same with this. Like, you've got to find your differentiator and then stick with it. Have persistency with it and stick with it, because it's not gonna change. You can't, like, your concept and the number of leads and what you've got overnight. It's just finding it and then being, like I say, having that persistence to make sure you stick into that same game plan. Is that fair? Is that a fair point?
I think it is. Yeah. Do you know a great example of someone doing this really well? And you've been on each of his podcasts, I think. Ash Borland does it really well, because he's found an issue, which is the upcoming podcast market. Everyone's getting into it. There's a reason behind it. It's flourishing. It can be profitable, but it's enjoyable. People listen to podcasts far more than they're doing music on the go nowadays. I probably assume in different areas. So, good little market. So Ash's issues come back straight away. How to set up and run your own podcast. I wouldn't know where to start. Ash offers help on that, but he's different. The differentiator is quite easy. There's not many people doing that at the moment. So doing it in the way he does it is really well, And I think that's an example of how someone could use them potential 3 pillars to create a brand and market a brand the way Ash has done that. I would say that's a good example.
No, definitely, and I think people get that as well, Matt. A lot of people do listen to Ash's podcast and do sort of see him out particularly in the mortgage market space. So people will get that, and he's the person that people will go to for help with waking up today, thinking about, I'm going to set a podcast up.
Yeah,
they will go to Ash, because there is nobody else. You try and think of anybody else out there that's doing it in a mortgage market. There's not. Is there anybody else doing it? Not that I'm aware of.
And well, the thing is that it's a very maybe it's intentional or not, but it's a very living example of the issue of a differentiator method, right? Because actually, again, you're seeing snippets of the videos on LinkedIn, like you promote out there, to market your podcast, and actually, it's a different thing in itself. No one else is doing that. So I'm seeing that. So the differentiator on marketing is present, but also the opportunity that I offer a potential customer is, do you know what? Actually, I like some of the stuff that's been shared, on Instagram stories and on LinkedIn. Actually, I might give that guy a quick call. I've got my own podcast ideas, and again, it's just something that, and all of that, by the way, in the main, is free marketing, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's free
using that method, and that's where see if you combine them 3 pillars. You, in your brand strategy, your marketing campaigns, you can build a business overnight. And I don't want to play that down. I don't make it sound dead simple, because it isn't easy. It will take persistence. But overnight is not, you don't get overnight success. You can start a business tomorrow on Company's House for 12 quid, right? But actually putting the wheels in motion to actually really start building a brand and attracting customers to what your offer is and your brand is, you can start that overnight if you know what to do. And for me, that's the point, them 3 pillars.
I think it simplifies things and gives people a reason. Like there's plenty of people. So when I talk about mortgage brokers and they're doing the marketing and getting the personality out there and all these different things, it's very, oh yeah, I'm going to do that. I don't know where to start. Yeah, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that tomorrow. Yeah, this month, this quarter, this year, this is what I'm going to do. Whereas if you're starting with those 3 simple things, like I said, they're not simple, but they are, like, in terms of the simplicity of it and the process of it, will make it easier and less traction and less things to put off. And actually, you will just get on with it because you're thinking, right, well, yeah, this is what the issue is, this is what the offer is, and this is what the differential is. And then just build everything around that. It's like, for me, like I'm saying now, knowing what you're talking about in terms of the issue is there's a lot of mortgage brokers coming into the market, becoming brokers who don't get support, who don't get help, don't get any coaching. Well, I can offer that, and that's where I differentiate from other people that are out there in the marketplace, that I will help do that. It's as simple. It's as simple as that, really, and that's what you've got to look at from a broker point of view. That's easy for me to look at from the outside looking in, so to speak. But from a broker point of view, get that differential, just get it nailed.
And to get that nailed, for me, you have to get it in the place where everyone's seeing it the most. And most of our consumer market nowadays, especially in mortgages, spend most of their time on smart devices, whether it be an iPad, whether it be a smartphone, it might even be Alexa, but to be fair, that's just for the music. I don't think there's anything there in the world for us really other than playing podcasts back on Alexa. But so how do I get into that market? Because it's not untapped, everyone's doing it. Social media has been around for years. But I'll tell you one thing, it has never been a better time to get your branding on social media now, using this method. Yeah. Purposely, because smartphones, devices, applications that are out there now are so tuned in to what you do as a consumer. It feeds you content that you would like. I always love it when people say, so I'll give you an example, right? TikTok's a great example of it. Gives you videos based on what you like. So when you hear these people say, oh, it's all just people dancing in brown bikinis, so we'll know what you're like on TikTok, don't we? But the reality is that stuff like that, it's an algorithm-based app. It shows you what you want. So, and actually, I read a stat the other day that TikTok's outgrown last year Google as the biggest search engine. Now, clearly, wow. Because so many people are just searching for, niche topics and videos on TikTok, right. That search engine is probably a loose terminology, but I think people have used Google's TikTok search more than Google. And I must just double check that. I mean, but that was staggering. Caught me right between the eyes. But I get it. And I'll tell you why. So let me just tell you, if I want to make the most out of that today, if I'm a brand new entrepreneurial broker who's set up their own brand, how am I going to get leads into my business outside of friends and family? Because that's where we all start, isn't it? Yeah, friends, family, referrals, right? But how can I get it? How can I get people coming to me for something that they're looking after? Well, first and foremost, right? This is how I would do it. And so the first thing is I need to identify what the issue is, right? Now, I don't need to really go specifically dead niche, but I don't want to be, right, where do I get a mortgage? Because that's just an open-ended comment, right? You need to find out what people are actually looking for. So you're probably thinking about how do I do that? There's a really, really good website called answerthepublic.com. Right. So anyone listening, I think you get 5 free searches a day. You can even go onto a premium plan if you want, but don't do that because we're talking about starting for free here and scaling up. So if I go onto there and I search something like, I can just put first time buyer, or I could put mortgage. What this tool does is it breaks down every search that's been looked for on Google over the past, I think it's 90 days. But essentially what it's telling you is, it's giving you all the questions that's been asked of the search engine, the what, the hows, the whens about mortgages. So it'll say, when my mortgage expires, what happens to the title deeds? How do I apply for mortgage if I have adverse credit? What happens if my credit score is 300 and I'm applying for a mortgage? Things like that then start to niche down a little bit. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So you create content based. Go on, yeah.
Sorry, Matt, I'm just thinking that, so from a question point of view, when you're looking at something like that on a website, I'm guessing it gives you volume. It's giving you the volume of traffic and the volume of people that are searching those same questions.
So it doesn't give you, this is the bit where I think the premium plan doesn't give you the volume. It gives you all of these exploded in one view. Okay.
Right.
So if you can picture it, you'll have a circle that goes round with all the what, wheres, and hows coming off. And within each sort of split gram, you'll have to the left, how do I get hold of a mortgage if I have adverse credit? And it'll list the questions out. And as part of that, then you just create a piece of content, that answers that question. So I use video for now because this is something that those that have seen my LinkedIn know that I like a video every now and again. And if let's say you focus a video, right? So here's my niche topic. I've seen that a lot of people are searching how to get a mortgage with adverse credit. Okay. And again, that, for me, it's a bit broad, that term, but let's keep it for that for now. Let's say it's a video content, dead simple. How do you get a mortgage when you've got adverse credit? You make a short 30 to 40 second video clip around a specific area of adverse. So you can niche that down into how to get a mortgage if I have a default or a CCJ, or, I've just exited an IVA, whatever that may be. And give people hints and tips on, right, who to contact, what to look out for, what potential solutions that you may or may not find. So for example, how do I get credit? How do I get a mortgage if I've got an active CCJ? Okay, great. So first of all, the video starts with your options are going to be limited, but they're not impossible. Second of all, what have you got to look out for as a potential consumer? What was a CCJ about? When did you get it? What's the next steps? And that's the key, the call to action, which is the offer. Because there's plenty of mortgage brokers out there that offer the service. However, if you need to know what your credit's like and state of affairs at the moment, you can either call to action, give the broker themselves doing the video a call, or you take it a little step further. So are you with me so far on that little?
Totally.
There's some people out there that are doing a phenomenal job on what they do here, and I'll name them towards the end. But so then, what does that? Well, here's a question for you. Then, what do you see on every social media platform with videos? What do you see available on every single platform that has video content for you to do as the viewer of that? What do you see?
Like what's subscribe to you can subscribe to that channel.
Subscribe. So always a call to action, subscribe, because you're pushing that out then. What happens then is these people that are liking and subscribing, you're getting bought into their algorithm. Every time they log onto that app, they're seeing your and related content. So over time, they're going to start to see things come your way. This is how I've stumbled across various different mortgage brokers on platforms like Insta and TikTok, because I've liked different ones. And all of a sudden, I get loads, and it's great seeing how people do things differently. But I'll tell you, the one thing that everyone does, link in bio. All right?
Okay. Yep.
And this is a free thing that everyone does here. And it's brilliant because, do you know what? You could do anything you need to here. Your link in bio could be your contact services. It could be, I've seen the great ones offering, free trials on credit file bureau, which is great, because then you can kind of warm the customer up before they get there. They meet you in terms of, if they do meet you, they've got a credit file already based on your link. But I suppose, how do you make that work, and how do you get people coming back, right? And for me, the differentiator in this scenario is offering something for free. How many people go looking for a mortgage and come back with answers, but nothing that they really feel bought into and valued?
Yeah.
I know when I bought my first home, you you get so many different answers. You think, I don't know what to do here. What do I actually need? And we're lost at the moment. Social media you can get lost in it, but if you really know what you're looking for, you can find absolute diamond stuff out there. And there's a few people that are doing this really well at the moment, and they're creating, it might be like a short 10-page guide on something like Canva or maybe a paid Adobe service that they've got. But that's the freebie.
Mm-hmm.
And when you offer that to a customer, so play that journey back. I've been searching for an issue. I've stumbled across Craig's video on Instagram or TikTok that's told me about the journey that I take on this particular issue, i.e. adverse credit. I can actually follow him and click a link in his bio that not only gives me an option to look at his 14-day free trial for my credit search that I need to find out how I can get this mortgage and if it's possible and how it's possible. He's also given me a free guide to potentially cleaning up my credit, maintaining finances well, the first-time buyer guide, all this great stuff. But I suppose then it's okay, what do you get in return for that? And the key for me there is contact detail capture, right? Because you then make that a bit more techie, that journey, and you then capture them customers' contact details in exchange for your freebie. And all that you do then is you market that customer based on trends in the market, area, maybe if you want to get really deep into it, geographical differences in terms of area, if you know that level of information from the data capture, but really poignant and really, dare I say it, succinct messaging around your business, whether it be mortgage, whether it be protection, whether you're selling milk and you're trying to undercut the milkman in the area, whatever it is, right? That's for me is a differentiator. Offer a service that no one's offering in terms of a freebie, something that catches the eye, something that's tangible they can keep hold of, that's got you and your branding on, that then you in exchange for that, thanks, Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Here's the guide. By the way, and then next 5 days, you can email them a subject. You can, the news that's changing in the market, it could be something like really simple, if you've got like a 3-question form, tick the boxes, mail goes out based on the preferences.
Yeah. I think the thing is, well, it's not, I don't pitch at that stage again. It's still giving them more information. So even though I've got the data, the last thing that you want is you've got the data. So there's my free guide. Thank you very much. I've got in exchange, I've got your email address or your postal address or whatever the case may be. What I've seen brokers do is then a day later, they're picking up the phone saying, and then pitching or email and then pitch. It's like, no, you're missing, like, you can't sort of like, it's like dating, isn't it? You can't just go like, oh, there you go, like it's just straight in there on the second day. And I think you've got to court people. You've got to sort of build up that trust and build up that rapport. And probably day is not a great example, but it was just something that was going on in my head at the time. But
it's a perfect example. I use that analogy with my guys. I say to them, if you're going to get a new firm on board, right? For any brand, not just Aldermore, but if you're going to get someone new on board, you're going to want them to, the analogy is marry you, right? They're going to want to buy into you, create a marriage with you in your business, okay? Some may say marriage is won and lost on the first date. I don't believe in that. I think that you've got to, I know first impressions definitely carry a substantial amount of weight. However, you've got to take your time. You can't then capture that customer's details and go straight in day 2. Like, right, great, I've got mortgage business here. What do you want from me? What can I give you? You have to coerce that in a nice way. And this lead generation sort of journey here, based on the 3 pillars, at this point in time, is all free. All that you're investing is your time. So you can't sort of act on that, dare I say, like you would do a paid lead, because you've made an output there and you want to probably trying to step it up a little bit in terms of conversion. These are people you're trying to attract. So think of the email campaign that you might do on the back of capturing details, more of an informative newsletter campaign. That's there to drive interest and thought, provoke thoughts, which will then in turn provoke questions. And that's where your opportunities come for business.
Yeah, no, totally agree with you. I think that's the thing, is that it's just about timing with regards to information, giving information. Don't think, because brokers ask me, well, when do I pitch then? Is it like my 3rd email, my 3rd newsletter? It's like, no, you've got to build, like, it's not about, you're not building this up to pitching, because giving out free stuff, doing all the things you're doing, building up rapport, building up trust, customers will choose to come to you. And when they choose to come to you, you've got a client for life. You're really going to have to work hard to then push them away. And it's about building that. Keep, like you said, doing the newsletters. Do you do quarterly newsletters? Do you do monthly ones? So just around what you do, and you can actually break those clients down like we do on we've got equity release clients that have inquired with us or asked for the guides, and I think I'm using that as an example, which is a bit niche kind of thing where clients ask for the guides. We've sent the guides out, and we just send them quarterly newsletters around the world of equity release. We don't, because we don't pitch in that. We don't sort of say, right, we don't follow up with calls and things like that. It's just giving him that information. So we look like we're the provider of choice. We know, we obviously we do know what we're talking about, but it's giving that kind of impression that, well, they've got 5-star Trustpilot reviews. Look, they know what they're talking about. They've been very informative without any being pushy or anything like that. That's what clients want in this marketplace when there is so much choice for clients to go to in terms of solving the issue that they've got.
Yeah, you're right. And you touched on a really important point there, Trustpilot reviews. Because at this point, what we've discussed so far doesn't even come into my current customer base and how they feel about me. And I think sometimes that, there's a time and a place to sort of promote that. And I think that clearly, if you've only got one review and you've only been trading a month, it's great news. You've had a 5-star review on one customer, but, you don't need to make a song and dance about that. And people don't, they're right in the mind. But I think the time and place for the reviews is in the material that you push out. If you've got a subscribed newsletter, because you've got somebody wanting to know more about you and your brand already. Now what you're doing is substantiating the proofs in the pudding. So here's an informative newsletter about all things mortgages or whatever. But actually, as a quick tip, here's our 5-star reviews on Trustpilot. Here's my business this month. And actually, if you do want to have a conversation, here's how you do it. It's just you'll find people will warm to that over time. I mean, the big thing is acting on the market, and the industry around us. I always think a big thing for me is news articles. And I say to my team all the time, if you get a news article in your, because we get the industry press, right? You must get 4 or 5 emails a day. But if you find one that the headline goes, look at that, because it must mean something to me and my business, Let's just for argument say, that 100% mortgages are back. Let's just say that came into my inbox today. I'd read that, you'd read that. And actually, if you then sent that to your customers, they'd all read that. The fine print will probably be for a very niche set of customers that more than likely hardly ever get the offer. However, it doesn't matter. What matters is the solutions that you can provide to the ones that don't get it, like the 95% market, shared ownership, right to buy, things like that, So the point is that you've looked at something that catches the eye and you've already thought about a potential solution if it's not quite right. That's what I always look for. And that's where headlines and news and local changes in these newsletter campaigns and things to your customers really do get people interested, even if it's just a quick phone call. Hi, Matt. Listen, I've noticed your recent newsletter there talked about area increases in house prices. How does that affect me? Perfect. Let's have a conversation about it. That could be anything. Moving on, gifting to your fans and family. It could be remortgaging to make your house bigger. What's your current needs and circumstances? And all of that from a little newsletter, from a headline, from a local advert, from a local news campaign is mortgage lead potentially.
And it's building up your local community network as well, and because that's with all these things we've talked a little bit about it. But I'm very big on local community. If you're a broker, yes, brokers in today's technology and space can do for, it doesn't really matter where the client's based in the UK in terms of doing business with them, but there's still a lot of brokers that are drilling down locally within the local community and getting leads with local and building that outward, shall we say. So they're not just going, right, I'm a UK-based mortgage broker and this is what I offer. They're drilling down locally, first of all, to build that local brand and trust up, and then build it outward. So the city, the village, the city, the county kind of thing, and then building it out that way.
Yeah, and I think that's the best place to start. I know I've talked about the social thing there, but you have to run that in line with local. Because for me, if you are gonna start a new brand, and this is probably just where I love the phrase, the word accountability, right? And for me, it means so much. If If you can start a business that is thriving on customer to customer, person to person contact, there's no better way to really hang your hat on it and be accountable in your local area. Would you feel comfortable providing a subpar service to someone that you're going to see in the chippy, at the queue at the chippy? You're just not. You know,
No way.
you're going to cross path these people in the pub. You're just not. So you really need to be accountable for the people that are surrounded by you. If you can get that right, think how much you can grow with the people that are outside of your area that you're never going to see. And that shouldn't be an issue, by the way, that you don't see them. But the point is that if I know that I can walk into anywhere with pride, knowing that if I saw one of my customers and they knew that I give the best service that they could have had, and even if it wasn't a desirable outcome for them and they couldn't get what they needed based on their circumstances, I did all I could to get there. Absolutely cracked it. And that's where, for me, that's where the local thing starts. It's about accountability.
Totally is. I 110% agree with you, because it is about that accountability. And you're right, it's not, you wouldn't give a substandard to somebody that is outside the area, so and other parts of the UK, stuff like that. But however, you're breeding it locally. You're breathing it locally. You've got to breed that outward in terms of your brand, and people, you'll find you'll get more traction locally because they will see your face down the chippy, or they will see you in the pub on a Friday night, or they will see you in that local restaurant or whatever, and they'll go, my God, that's that guy who's I've seen on that. And then they all of a sudden then they look at your social media profile, you then pop up more in terms of their social media profile, and you just again, and then the friends, they're more likely to like something, then the friends see that, and you're just building your name out in terms of what you're doing. But behind all that is the three pillars that you've talked about.
It absolutely is. Yeah, actually, a completely funny story about its accountability point. But I learned the hard way about this many years ago on holiday, right? And it was I was in Dominican Republic, right? And I'd never been on a kayak before, so like the brain box that I was, I decided to go kayaking the day the waves were up. I get into the sea in this kayak, and there was a chap in front of me with his kid, and I must have been, I don't know, 21 at the time, some years back. And I couldn't control this thing. I'm like, you're going to have to move. Like, it's going to hit you. And I hit this guy on the head with the front of the kayak, right? Now, it was like a little bump noise, right? And I'm thinking, oh, my God, what have I done here? Anyway, he was all right about it. But at the time, I was a little bit like, it was so much easier for you to jump out of the way in what was waist-high water for him. And he was ducked down. He could have just got up and moved, but he didn't. Anyway,
yeah.
So I hit him on the face, and I wasn't, I suppose, as apologetic as I could have been, because I'm thinking, do you know what? I ain't going to see that guy again. He should have moved. I'm telling you now, I saw that guy every night at the buffet, right, for the rest of that holiday, and it felt dead awkward. I didn't want to go up and apologise after that, but I just kind of like swerved him, the complete opposite of what he did with the boat, really. And I felt, so at the time, I'm thinking, right, if anything like that happens, I give two scenarios. If I've messed up on the spot, I fess up, I do what I can to make it right, and I apologise. Second of all, I avoid the situation. So that's why I'm big on accountability, because otherwise, I'm sure you're following me around the holiday for the rest of it.
Excellent. Matt, we're going to end on that great point there, because I think that's a great thing to end on. Thank you for coming back to being part of part two, and to exploring a lot more about the pillars, accountability, like you say, which you've talked about. I think we've got to know there's a lot of things for people to take away from this. The first one there was, the second one just as much, if not more so. And I think like now it's like what people do and how accountable they are for themselves to take away and think, do you know what are these three pillars? How does it affect me? How do I find my differential? And then build on that from there. So I really appreciate all your input, mate. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah, not a problem at all. And any listeners that want, if they want a quick chat with me around, any of the, where do I start with this? What can you give me some pointers around? Maybe, how do I maybe enhance my profiles, and how do I even start with looking at things like Answer the Public? Just give me a shout on the socials. My LinkedIn stuff and my Instagram is going to be no doubt tagged to the campaign that you push out with the podcast. More than happy for people to get in contact for a quick chat on that, and I'll tell you how it can work.
Definitely. No, you will get tagged in, mate. So they say encourage people to reach out, and as you do anyway, and you will be accountable and not dodge those comments and people reaching out to you. So No, absolutely. No, thanks for that, mate. And like I said, we'll get you tagged in so people can make sure that we get any feedback and stuff like that over to you. So, but Matt, thank you very much for your time yet again.
No, thank you. It's been great. Take it easy.